Next up, we have the duo of Kimmy Tempest and Shirley Gilby. And I'll kick off with a little bit of insight into who these two fabulous ladies are. Kimmy Tempest is a mother, a student of natural health care, a numerologist, and a self-described seeker of meaning, which we're going to hear all about shortly. Shirley Gilby has dedicated her career to supporting the development and growth of entrepreneurs and early-stage businesses, particularly those that are women-led. Shirley champions the development of the UK SA Tech Hub, a UK government-funded initiative linking the UK and South Africa and driving digital skills development, ecosystem collaborations, and partnerships between startups, funders, and corporates in both countries, which just sounds incredibly admirable. Ladies, I'd love to call you up to share with us your story and the piece of art that it inspired.
So I'm going to work a little bit up and down because I'm not very good at sticking to my story. I tend to reinvent myself quite regularly. So this came out of me on the flight here from Cape Town today. So it's literally from the heart. And at the end of writing these pages, I just realized, wow, this is actually the anniversary weekend where I packed up my entire life, and I literally mean a 400 square meter house, my one child, my dog. I packed it all into the back of my Jetta with the help of my parents and some amazing friends. So, and shoved us all into this little Jetta, and at 3 in the morning, around this time, 10 years ago, I just said, okay, Faith B, and I'm going to Cape Town. And I can honestly say that was the beginning of the end. It was a wonderful transformation. And 10 years later, I couldn't believe this one. I was like, wow, it is in fact the 29th tomorrow, and that would have been the day where I took the trip. And that was exactly 10 years ago. So I had a bit of a wow moment there. And I'll read a few of my notes because I always forget everything. My total transformation, in a matter of 15 months, I got separated, divorced. I was exactly on this weekend doing this trip from Joburg to Cape Town, and here I'm back in Joburg to share this phenomenal story with you. And then I thought to myself, at that time, I thought that was my goal. I was like, wow, the goal. And 10 years later, there are more goals. There's more transformations. There's more emergences. And I just thought of the title of this beautiful, this baby that Sheshni has born here, the resurrection, and I thought that resurrection is not rising from the dead or out of the ashes due to some kind of perceived loss. It is a rising up again for life, because we are here for life, and that is what we do. We go through multiple deaths and rebirths to do the next thing that we're inspired to do. And that is what gives us our life force, is this beautiful, amazing spirit we have in each one of us to create, co-create, and rebirth into another cycle. So Sheshni always laughs at me because I said to her, but I don't really know what my story is, Sheshni. Like I scrap it. So, it'll come, she says, it'll come. So begin telling the story is quite daunting because I can be very long-winded. And I always find a new story within a story, as Adam was sharing with us. There's so many stories inside a story. But I think my defining moment, at the present moment, is finding that point of right now. Who am I now? Who have I become? Is the person I've arrived to be the one I am here right now? Am I there yet? Or am I still unfolding? Am I still emerging? I think the answer is always yes, yes, and yes. One of my dearest friends, Peter, back in Cape Town, a rather eccentric soul and a very gifted magician of medicine, he says to me quite frequently over the couple of years he's known me, which is now 10, Kim, I'm always intrigued and amazed at how you manage to completely reinvent yourself. And I'd say, in reply to this, I said to him once, Peter, I'm sure it's quite definitely by accident, because I don't go around on purpose doing these radical things, but I just seem to pull things out of a hat and the next thing emerges. One of my
life-saving grace as being faith rather than failure. So let me begin at the end today, and as I feel that I'm here today at the end of the next beginning, on this signature day, which for me would have been the 29th of March. First, two phenomenal and most important parameters which have literally been cleared up for me in the period of time during our lockdowns and COVID and right up to this point. I could honestly say I've reached a point in my life right here and right now, sitting on that seat in the play, where I can acknowledge that I've learned with absolute certainty two fundamental truths that are true for me, and that is, number one, the era of right and wrong is dead. It is dead. The era of good and evil is outdated. It is gone, and the era of process has emerged. The era of unconditional love is louder than it's ever been. What is born now in this time, what we are all feeling, is process. We are undergoing a phenomenal process, and it's the calling to spiritual growth, to spiritual emerging. If you're feeling it, you're totally getting it. Judgment is an afterlife instrument. It's not that it no longer exists. It is meant in the afterlife. And in the present life, we are to use judgment as a personal tool, one that should only be for personal use and revered in that way. In other words, judge only yourself, because making other people wrong will not serve you any longer. It is dead. The application of unconditional love and acceptance will bring you your ideal, or perhaps if you wish, it will bring you closest to that thing that we all think is real, which is happiness. To me, in my own opinion, we are truly content with life when we have found meaning. Hence, the perpetual cycles I've perhaps gone through to find meaning. But there's more to this story. It seems like my life has always been about, I couldn't really live until I found the meaning. And as the meaning started to emerge and make sense to me, I could move on to the next thing. So at 16 years old, I was actually quite a bit of a songwriter and perhaps somewhat of a poet. Some things are still mixed in there that I could potentially do that again. But there was one song that stood out in my head today where I heard myself singing, "Why am I here? Why am I living?" It is a question without an answer. I didn't ask to be born. I was crying out for my soul at this time. Like, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? What is my purpose? And we had, what do we know when we're 16? We know nothing. We're so young and precious and innocent, and yet I seem to experience all things in a painful way, and I was trying to make sense of pain and what the meaning of pain was. It was quite interesting because the repetitive themes of pain kept on emerging, deep inner feeling of pain, and I knew it had a meaning. I've now called this experience Finding Nemo, which is weird because one day my partner said to me, he said, you're looking a bit distant. And I said, correct, I'm having a Finding Nemo moment. I'm trying to find meaning. I'm having a Finding Nemo moment. Because sometimes we can be like that fish in the ocean swimming around madly, and we just know that it's going to show up one day, that thing that we're looking for. In my life, I just want to say this painting was born of the fact that what had meaning to me the most was becoming a mother. And I'll explain that to you shortly, or lengthily, sorry. My whole experience from a very young age seemed to be very spiritual. I've been blessed into a very spiritual family, into a very godly family, into a family that honored the space of tradition and spirituality and acknowledged God. And I've gone through multiple spiritual lessons and experiences that continually reinforced my purpose, which was the development of spirituality within myself and perhaps within interested other parties. My grandfather was an Anglican priest, my father a pastor and a mission worker in his own right. My mother too, she joined him, and she was a deep intercessor or prayer and a choir singer. We are spiritual people. I have a lineage embedded in me that feels quite connected to the spiritual world. So what do you do with that in a very material space? How do I find meaning for myself and the world around me? My own life began in churches with organs and the sounds of smells of incense everywhere. From old churches to modern churches, I was exposed to the world of dark and light, and I could see definitely with my spiritual eyes angels and archangels. And this was the calling of my soul. When I saw them, I knew I was home. I wanted to find the meaning of what was here, and I would ask them, I would see them and ask them, what is the understanding of this all? What is the meaning of what is happening to me in this world? What am I meant to be doing? At the tender age of about 7 or 8, or maybe once, I had a brief conversation with a very large light being, and I was asking, why am I here and what is the meaning of this? I didn't get much of an answer. Instead, I remember 2 very powerful things: a feeling of love and awe, and a feeling of light and power. And when I look back at it all, in my whole life, all my actions, deviations, and journeys, my choices and my blunders, I'm pleased to say today that I have found a deep sense of peace in the knowledge that I chose motherhood. I chose nurturing in order to be nurtured. I chose love in order to be loved. I chose lessons and difficulty over comforts and selfishness. I tried my hardest in everything, and I found myself being selfless, and that eventually I was given a reward for that. But rewards, we know that we don't really get rewards in life as such, except the reward of actually seeing grace and glory in other people's lives, as perhaps you've been on the journey with them and done something with them to uplift them. I chose faith over failure. I chose the journey despite criticism. I chose to believe when everyone around me told me that I was off track. I chose light over dark. I chose boundaries over barriers. I chose peace instead of judgment. It is not to say that I'm finished, for today is not my end, but rather it is everything up to this moment that has completed me so far. The Father above, the Mother Earth below, under my feet, both the stars, the moon, the angels, the music, the friends, the family, who have all accompanied me and supported me to this point, where ultimately I have found meaning through deep and meaningful connections. The deep traumas in life, therein lies meaning. You have to be willing to go deep and find them. As a 6-year-old, my terrifying maths teacher taught me my first lesson in how to rise up out of humiliation and take back your power against all odds and do it quietly with grace. As a 15-year-old church server and participator, our pastors in charge taught us our first lessons in shame and banishment, and how to show up for God's work and not for people's work. As a 30-year-old my deeply wounded husband taught me my multiple lessons in pain, and how pain can bring us our greatest and most glorious transformations if we choose to release the mistakes and learn from them. As a 37-year-old, my very wise son taught me my greatest lessons in letting go in order to reach new heights. His greatest gift to me was his sacrifices that he made for me and his wisdom that he brought along with him. As a 40-year-old, my brilliant daughter, who is perhaps depicted there, with raven red hair and quite a wild spirit, she gave me the greatest lessons for more than 8 years actually. In the true meaning of bravery, love, courage, grief, passion, fighting, striving, surviving, and determination, her greatest gift was joy. As a 40-year-old, I knew finally, through separation and destruction and divorce, and all what could be perceived and appearing as losses, that could emerge the most beautiful feelings of true freedom in the self and resolve. The feeling of being a mother to myself, my children, and others in need. This was my true gift that I realized. To nurture and to be nurtured. I realized I not only nurtured others and my children by taking them through adversity and change, but I also nurtured myself. The greatest meaning I have with me at this point in time, that changes things for me every single day, is the knowledge that when I nurture, I too will be nurtured. When I love, I too will be loved. When I'm in my truth, I will feel empowered. When I listen, I will learn. When I am giving, I will find gratitude. When I shine my light, I receive the one true connection to all there is, which is a connection to my Maker, to God, to His great universe, and the connection we have to all possibilities out there. Our highest potential exists right there. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is right. Everything is exactly as it should be, right here, right now. Just walk in the light, be the light, and carry the light. Thank you.
So this painter illustrated the story of what Kimmy just shared. Shirley Gilber is a Cape Town, she's based in Cape Town, and she worked with Kimmy through this art piece over the last, I would say, 2 to 3 months ago, and she sent me her inspiration, so I'm just going to share with you the thought process that went into that, and I think through Kimmy's story you can hear the nurturer that she has, for people and her clients. Shirley mentioned that she is a very nurturing of nature, importance of children, family, and clients that illustrates, the warmth that Kimmy has. Overall care, giving everyone that she connects with. She has a very close bond to her daughter, and I think the picture illustrates that definitely there. The daughter figure represents both literally daughter and all Kim's clients. And she wanted to encapsulate the feeling of bond, nurturing, and also all of the work that you've done with your clients and the inspiration that you've thought with all the people that you lead in your way. The mother figure dress feels like a wedding dress, which symbolizes pure commitment and a bond aspect again. And obviously the piece is kept very simple to illustrate Kim and the work that she's done throughout, I think, the world, because Kimmy's client is globally as well. And I'm not too sure, have you named this piece?
No.
Are we going with your story's name? Sequel of Meaning?
Yes.
Okay, so this piece represents a sequel of meaning, and that's